Illegal mining, though, is condemned for its environmental destruction and its connection to criminal networks. On the other hand, artisanal mining is often seen as a community-driven business promoting economic empowerment. Let's discuss this now with David van Wyk, who is the lead researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation. David, good evening to you and thank you very much for your time. Before we talk illegal mining, let's talk about the formal sector. Today, releasing statistics for the year 2024, and they are proud to say this is the lowest year that has recorded the lowest fatalities in the industry. Should they be patting themselves on the back, you think?
Well, I think first and foremost, we must take note that the formal large-scale industrial mining has declined significantly, losing about 20,000 jobs a year since 2019. Now, if you have fewer people working in the industry because many shafts are closed or many shafts are no longer working, they are under so-called care and maintenance in the process of being abandoned, then obviously your fatality rate should go down because there are fewer people working in the industry as compared to 5 or 10 years ago. So that is a problem. And as we see the numbers declining in the formal sector, we see the numbers increasing in the informal, the illegal, and artisanal sector. And that is where the fatalities will increase. And those fatalities are not recorded because those particular activities are not regulated for. They're not actually legislated for. So we don't know what's going on there. We just know that the conditions there are horrendous because a mine that has been abandoned is a very dangerous mine. It has no infrastructure in it, it has no electricity in it, it has no potable water in it, and it has no technology in it. It's very basic technology underground where these guys are working, so it's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
And we hear of dead bodies underground in many places, including, of course, in Stilfontein. In Stilfontein at the Repurposing shaft at shaft 10, there are still 77 skeletons dating back to about 1978 or 1979 when there was a big accident there. Those bodies were never retrieved. We also, of course, know that the bodies in Lily Mine were never retrieved either. So besides that, as the formal sector fatality levels go down, it's a reflection of the employment levels in that sector going down. Whereas the employment in informal mining, when workers get retrenched and they don't get their pensions and they don't get their, what is due to them, the unemployment benefits and so on, they go back into the mines and they become illegal miners or they become informal miners. Having been in Stilfontein just 2 days ago, the community there at Kuma tell me that when those shafts closed, the employer didn't actually inform the employees. They were just left in the dark. They got to work one morning and there was no more work. Their pensions were not paid out. The unemployment benefits were not paid out and so on. And we wonder why these things are not being pursued as vigorously as illegal mining, because it's illegal to abandon a mine. It's illegal to abandon workers without actually paying them their compensation.
Well, you talk about Buffelsfontein because that is who owns the shafts at Stilfontein. I want to broaden the discussion, David, and sort of move it away from the Stilfontein shafts for a moment and just talk artisanal mining. Recently, I had a conversation with someone whose knowledge of the mining sector is quite vast, and they were saying to me that artisanal mining in the old gold mines, it's simply impossible because they are too deep and therefore dangerous. Do you agree with that contention?
Well, I think that if they have the necessary support, these artisanal miners can actually happen in these mines. We saw it happening in Stilfontein since at least 2016, 2017 until now. People have been going in and out of there, and according to the police, they've extracted quite a lot of gold from there. They've also extracted some diamonds from there because when that mine started, it was a gold and diamond mine. It was the Stilfontein Gold and Diamond Mining Company in 1949. And some of the guys who came up and who were arrested were found with diamonds on them. They were the only guys who could actually be found guilty of being in illegal possession of a gemstone, a diamond, which, unlike the bags of stones which don't or do not contain gold. The fact of the matter is that when you close a mine down without rehabilitating it, then you're making it dangerous because you didn't hand it over to a repurposed and re-engineered business.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be doing with mines. We should not let corporations just simply walk away from them. We should re-engineer and repurpose them, also for small-scale and perhaps artisanal mining, by keeping the infrastructure in place and not allowing it to be stripped down and sold to scrap metal dealers and so on.
Can I interrupt your thought process there? When you say re-engineer these mines so that they remain productive but perhaps on a small scale, would you be able to do that with a gold mine that is 2 kilometers deep? How would you re-engineer that?
Well, if you look at a mine that's 2 kilometers deep, you must remember that is the bottom horizontal tunnel that's 2 kilometers deep. Yeah. Above it, there could be 20 levels going down, right? The deepest level is usually underwater nowadays because water seepage into the mine. And the water is gradually rising to the surface, pushing whoever is very deep up and up and up until eventually the water reaches a point where no one can go in, which in itself is a problem because the water is acidic and it's causing sinkholes because the acidic water eats away the dolomite in the substructure, and that's why you've got Kutsong and these places full of sinkholes. Yeah. And it's an old problem, and everybody knows that water in these mines needs to be pumped. And that's another way in which you could repurpose the mine. You could actually pump the water. You could give people jobs around the pumping of the water, and you can clean that water for industrial purposes for the communities around to use in factories and farms and so on. You can't drink that water, but you can certainly use it for industrial purposes, and it can be income generating. There's a whole lot of other things that you can do as well. So you can let the artisanal guys go down to level 4, 5, maybe 6 deepest that may be 200, 300, 400 meters deep, and then you block off the rest of it, or you repurpose the rest of it. You put in pumps, or because it's so incredibly hot at 2,000 meters, you can put in turbines which can generate electricity.
Yeah. Let's wind down the conversation, David, and let me take you back then to illegal mining, and let's go straight to Stilfontein. Today, the police wrapping up the operations, they are saying, but they are certainly not wrapping up Operation Valumgodi. That is going to continue. Buffelsfontein, these are the police telling me this, Buffelsfontein Gold, this is the company that owns these shafts at Stilfontein, is now committing to basically take responsibility for those shafts. First of all, what should they be doing right now? And importantly, what responsibility should they shoulder for the calamity that we have witnessed there as a country, as illegal as it was?
Well, I think firstly, the DMRE has in the past, to its credit, asked large-scale mining operations and big companies to work with small-scale operators and artisanal miners to assist them to establish businesses and cooperatives and so on to be able to do artisanal mining. And that, I think, was a progressive step. The white paper that the DMRE developed is also a progressive step, and we certainly contributed to that particular white paper. But that company should be held liable for not having closed those mines properly in the first instance. And it should have been held liable for allowing a shadow operation to operate next to a formal operation, a ghost operation to operate next to a formal operation. And my question still remains, who are the people that recruited these mine workers? People in Stilfontein tell me that people go around Limpopo, they go around Mozambique, Lesotho, Eastern Cape, and they recruit people.
Yeah.
They actually say, do you want a job? And at these levels of unemployment that we are having in our country, anyone who's unemployed is going to jump at the opportunity. And then when they get to the mine, they find that they are in an illegal operation. Now, who are these recruiters? Who are they working for? What is the structures above the ground? And, you know, when we talk about Tiger being a kingpin, that is utter nonsense. Tiger is not a kingpin. A kingpin is someone who drives a Mercedes-Benz and lives in Sandton. It's not someone who's down underground being a boss boy and hitting people and threatening them when they don't want to work, or keeping them under pressure when they demand that they come up before 6 months are over and so on. No one should be underground for 6 months at a time.
David van Wyk, the lead researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation, thank you very much for your time.